Go. All right. So I wonder if there's a way that I can like interact with the chat because what I want to do is I want to put this link inside the chat so that if you want to enter the live stream, you can. I wonder if there's a way to do that. This is like a new YouTube update thing, so I'm not fully sure exactly how that's supposed to work. Like there's a bunch of stuff on here that I'm not familiar with, to be honest. Uh, but bro, do I have to do this on like a laptop? That's my only thing about. See, this is my only thing about the new live stream setup because like before I remember I would go live on YouTube and I could actively like put stuff in the comments, but I don't have my laptop with me. So like I can't send the invite to actually like have people join the live stream for some reason. So I guess it's just gonna be me for now. Yo, what up? It's been a while. Let's go. Let's go. One of the OGs. It's one of the OGs. I've been doing all right. Been lifing around, you know what I mean? Whole lot of life stuff. Uh man, I'm in Kentucky now. So bet no problemo. In fact, I just recorded a video off camera using a piece of the book. It's kind of bent a little bit because I've been using it a lot, but so yeah, I read my own book, but yeah, and yeah, so and in fact, let me talk about that. If any, because I don't, so like for example, when it shows me how many viewers are inside the live stream, it doesn't update on time. So a lot of times I'll get comments from multiple different people and it'll only show I have like 0 or like 1 viewer in here, or and it'll jump up later on. So like I don't always know how many people are actually actively in the stream at every time. But either way, just for future reference, for replay purposes or anything like that, the book is now permanently uh yeah, the book is now permanent. Oh, I just got cut. See, like it just happened. It just jumped up the sick. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's what I mean. It doesn't it wh- hey bruh, I cut my own hair, man. I had to cut off. I had to cut this off, man. I had to cut it off. I had to. I was getting too lazy. Yeah. Going on 2 years. Yeah, going on 2 years. July 22nd, 2023. How many years has it been since then? 4. Yeah, going on 2 years. Yeah, going on 2 years. But yeah, the book is now. I it was before it was $20 standard price, but now the book is $15 permanently. So I just got through doing a sale. Basically, I was giving out signed copies for 30% off and free shipping. So you didn't have to pay for shipping. I covered that out of my own pocket. Woo, that shipping, man. And I also was selling it for $14 because it was originally 20, it's 30% off, right? And I actually got a couple sales from that. A lot of people just want to show support. Highly appreciate it. So thank you all if you are in the chat. Um, but I decided, especially because okay. So I'm about to get this book inside of an actual bookstore. So they're basically saying that. So I basically lowered the price so that they can get a lower price too, so they don't have to pay retail. So everybody gets blessed now, for less. So yeah, that's other news. This book is on its way into a local bookstore right here in E-Town. The Christian bookstore. I'm really freaking excited, y'all. It was great. Um, I am not preaching at church currently, but I do still preach, if that makes sense. So, so yeah. We got a little competition going on here, huh? I see. I see. Nah, ain't no lies here, man. Ain't no lies. But yeah, so Here's the deal. I started this live stream after making a few videos, right? So some of y'all who are OGs understand how I was when I like first started doing YouTube. I feel like it's very appropriate for me to give a complete rundown of what's been going on and how do we get where we're at now. What happened, Kelton? You were first KJBroadus, and then the channel switched to HFM Network, and then you're putting all these videos out with the HFM logo, and then all of this weird live stream stuff started happening, and then you went to Discord, and now we're back here again, how it was in the beginning. All right, let me explain everything because I know there's a lot of confusion. A few people actually emailed me and said that they thought I quit YouTube and quit this and that, and I just want to clear some things up and set the record straight because obviously there's been a lot of miscommunication. My fault, my bad, y'all. Okay, so I started this channel in 2019 after getting saved, and I came out with my first video. It was a testimony video, and it blew up like overnight. It literally blew up. I was already at 1,000 subscribers within like 3 days. Great news, right? And then I was releasing consistent stuff. During this time, I was in high school. Okay, so I was in high school the entire time, but that was like senior year high school. Like it was 2019. I graduated in 2020. So once I graduated, of course, I couldn't just do music. I couldn't do music and YouTube full time because I had to take care of myself and I did not want to stay in my parents' house. So I joined the military. So I was gone for about 6 months for that, right? After coming back, a lot of stuff changed. My mindset changed about so many things. So many things, even miracles are happening. I got a lot to say about that. But it was crazy, man. And I got depressed. It was just this whole thing, man. But I came back to YouTube, but it just wasn't the same. And COVID hit. And when the pandemic happened, the just a sheer amount of stuff that was going on made that the worst 2 years of my entire life, especially with all the mandates for federal employees and me being one, obviously at that point, it was just horrible, man. I was going through the worst time possible. And it made me slow down on YouTube. It made me slow down in so many different cases. One many things led to another, and I was basically led to a season where I just didn't want to make any content. I'm gonna put some AC up in here because it's hot. Um, Basically, I stopped putting out content. I had to spend a lot of alone time with God, and through this season of alone time with God, I grew really close to Him. But I also gained insane amounts of clarity regarding His Word, especially when it came to me reading in context and the importance of that. And that's how I got into Discord chats and all this other type of stuff and started Voice of the Remnant, which then turned into HFM Network and all the other type of stuff. And with that new knowledge, with that new respect for God's word, and with that new reverence, okay, okay, sorry. So the live stream kind of cut out for a minute. Did it just restart? I think the live stream just restarted. What? It just went back to zero. Either way, basically picking up where I left off. Um, that's how HFM Network came into part. It's from Discord and then here, right? I put out a few live streams before I made this change. I thought I made it very clear I wasn't quitting YouTube. I thought I made it very clear what was going on in my life at the time and how everything was changing and how I was going to change up my content. I guess that message didn't get across, but that's basically what happened. I didn't quit. I just changed the name, changed a few things, right? And then I was consistent for a little bit and then it stopped being consistent. And then I got consistent for a little bit and then stopped. And it kept going back and forth. And stuff just kept happening in life, man. Changes kept happening. And let's just skip way forward. Basically, once I left active duty, I joined the National Guard, but I've been dealing with other stuff beyond that, all on top of also being married as well. So all that type of stuff, it like everything has changed and made a lot harder. I basically came to, and how I came back from having Saint Network back to KJBroadus is basically a moment of realization that what I'm doing, what I was trying to do, wasn't necessary. So think about this. We're always learning in life, right? We're always trying to figure things out. We're always learning new things. We're always finding out different ways of approaching different matters in different ways that are just as effective or more effective than the other. And when it comes to scripture, we're there's always going to be something that we're going to get wrong. And then once we do in intense amount of study about it and fully study to show ourselves approved, we'll come to learn something that we believe falsely about beforehand. And that's what kept happening to me. At the end of the day, it goes back to one point, and that's where how I am back on YouTube now. Is for one, Jesus is perfect, and you're perfected through Jesus. That's the first thing. So if you make a mistake, that's not really a reason to completely not walk in what God has called you to, because at the end of the day, that's not, I mean, you're expected to make a mistake. That's just why Jesus died for you. Second of all, the mission is very clear and it's the same. And three, you can't wait for big giant huge things to happen, because I'm not on this earth for huge things to happen. I'm on this earth to fear God and keeping his commandments as written in the book of Ecclesiastes. The whole purpose, our whole purpose and mission in life as mankind is to fear God and keep his commandments. Why do I say that? And it goes back to something to actually talked about in my most recent video. Remember the story of Joseph? Everybody thinks that that story is about a man who was outcasted by his family and just became the most powerful person in the world, and he just got his blessings through the trial. That's not what that story is about. In the book of Genesis, when it mentions Joseph, that's not what that story is about. It's not about getting your blessings after everybody hates you. It's not about blowing up and get super wealthy. It's not about that. It's simply about how God used the differences between Joseph and his brothers to eventually usher in the covenant of God. Why do I not think that Joseph Big's moment was when he was basically second to Pharaoh? Well, like I said in the video, he was leader of a pagan nation with a pagan family, nation that worshipped pagan gods, that opposed Yahweh, and basically the famine basically allowed for Egypt to become a nation that everyone had to rely on. A pagan nation. Not Canaan. That's where the Israelites were. That's where Jacob and his sons were. They were in Canaan, which is modern day Israel. But everyone, instead of relying on the promised land, they relied on Egypt, a nation that was soon to enslave God's people. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that wasn't Joseph's big moment to be praised in that type of nation. That wasn't the message of that story. What Joseph's actions did was allow to preserve the life of Jacob and his sons. Why? Because Jacob and his sons came to Egypt to get food, and that Egypt would not have been a place like a safe haven full of food and resources if it wasn't for Joseph being sent to give the plans to Pharaoh to make sure that they're prepared for the famine. If it wasn't for Joseph being there, Egypt would have been just as dead from that famine as anybody else would have been. But because of Joseph being there, then the Israelites came and they were able to live in Egypt. And they had all their needs taken care of. But of course, time happens, life happens. Eventually, a Pharaoh rose up who didn't know about Joseph and didn't really care about him either. And that's where we started. This is where the beginning of the Exodus story starts coming into play, where the Israelites were all enslaved for 400 years and all this other type of stuff, and all these huge atrocities and slavery and all this other stuff happened, treated poorly, and they finally called out to God for help. Then Moses was born. So think about this. If Jacob and all of his sons died in Canaan because of the famine, because Joseph wasn't in Egypt providing food for everybody in all the countries around, basically, do you think Moses would have been born? Probably not. Why? Because the people through which the promise is made to were all dead. But since they weren't, because of Joseph's actions, God was able to raise up Moses and do it. So could have God done it? Could God have done it a different way? Maybe. But at the end of the day, he didn't. So, in a sense, he allowed what at first seemed like something destructive and hateful to basically be used for the good of an entire nation of millions of people. One person suffered temporarily so that all of Israel could experience salvation. That's the story of Joseph. Oftentimes we read the Bible and it's like we read the book of Genesis and it's done. Book of Exodus is done. Deuteronomy is done. But that's not how the Bible works. In fact, when you look into the scrolls in the original manuscripts, especially those first 5 books, it's all one big scroll. It's not like all this other weird stuff. Like you have to read everything in consecutive order. It's just like it's the same thing with the Sermon in the Mount. Like for example, in the book of Matthew, you got Matthew chapter 5, Matthew chapter 6. You can't read them as separate things just because they're split into chapters. That's all one entire event from start to finish. It's not like multiple different events. It's one entire thing. So it's almost as if chapter 6 doesn't even exist. It's just chapter 5, then chapter 7. You know what I mean? Like you have to read it all in context. And I would think that people understand this by now, but a lot of people, when a lot of times when we're reading the Bible, we just read a chapter and be like, all right, we're done for the day. Not and then move on to the next one the next day, thinking it's like an entirely different message. But the point of me saying all this is to backtrack why I even mentioned the story of Joseph and all this other type of stuff is basically I realized that it doesn't matter. Like the views, the subscribers, it doesn't matter. The likes, it doesn't matter. I might ask for it from time to time because it does help the algorithm. It does help the stuff reach more people. But at the end of the day, that honestly was one of the things I was worried about as well because of my time being inactive on YouTube, it started going down. I started thinking that God wasn't blessing what I was preaching and that God didn't want me to do YouTube anymore. And lo and behold, that wasn't true. But I learned that after realizing that this life is not about like proof of God working in my life had nothing to do with how blessed my platform was getting or how blessed my finances or whatever it was getting. It was just simply about loving God, keeping his commandments, loving my neighbor as myself. It was simply about fearing God, which basically means having reverence for God and keeping his commandments. If God has called me to do something, then there's really no excuse for me not to do that. Because obviously, if God is calling me to preach the good news to other people, if God is saying to me and calling me to share his love with those who are in the world so that they can endure to the end and so they will not leave him and so they can understand the truth of the gospel, then there's no excuse because if God is saying that that's my purpose, if God is calling me to do that, then obviously the obvious answer would be, well, obviously God is going to support me in that. Then God is obviously going to be my pillow, my cushion, my stone, my rock, my foundation in this whole situation, regardless of what it looks like. So of course I had to repent and say, you know what? I realized, God, I was wrong. This isn't about me. So I'm going to try this again, but this time I'm going to take my emotions and my presumptuous thoughts out of it. And now we're here we are today. So now I have been honest. I will be honest. I have been a little inactive for the past few days. I'm gonna just be completely vulnerable. I've been caught up playing Subnautica for the past 3 days, so I did not post anything because I was in that game, man. Subnautica, and I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna just tell you straight up. When Subnautica comes out, when Subnautica 2 comes out, I'm gonna be playing that too. I'm just being honest. So, Unknown Worlds did a great, fantastic job on Subnautica. I love the game, and you know what? I want to play the second one because the second one I can play with my wife, and she wants to get, and she's interested. Hey, it's a beautiful game. It's amazing, man. So yeah, I've been caught up playing Subnautica for the past few days. My bad, y'all. But I'm slowing down a bit so I can make sure I take care of my responsibilities here and elsewhere as well. So hey, and you know what? When Subnautica 2 comes out, if any of y'all want to join me in a game, oh, let me know because I'm gonna be on that. That's an investment right there, man. That's an investment. But long story short, that's long term story short. A long story short. Long term story short. Why do we say that? Why do we say long term story? I mean, I mean, it literally just means that you're shortening the story that long term, but it sounds weird. Anyways, to make a long story short, that sounds better. That's how we ended up here today. So hopefully that clears some things up. I'm not done. I'm going to be changing the profile picture in a little bit. It's a long story short. Oh my gosh, it just like every time I think about what it sounds like when I'm saying that, I get like this happens every single time. I always go like, what? Like it's the same thing, man. Thank you. I'm glad you love the music. Thank you. Subnautica, so Subnautica. Subnautica. It's basically a survival game where basically you're sent to a planet by a company called Altera, and the ship crashes and you make it out on a life pod. And you're basically land on this vast water planet full of unknown expect stuff. It's on basically all. It's on console, mobile, everything. I play on like all three. But I prefer playing it on like PC and mobile. Just that's just my thing. But I also play on Xbox too. But you have to make sure you map the controller, right, because the controls can be a little iffy. But I have all my controls mapped properly on my controller, so I have it tuned for me. But yes, it's available on everything. Um, but basically, you're in this world. It's like a water world, and your goal is basically to survive and you know uncover the story. And once you progress the story, you'll find out like the reason why Altera went there. You'll understand uh why the ship got shot down out of the sky, why the ship crashed. You'll start to understand why, you know, you're there and who you're looking for and all this other type of stuff. There's a lot of tragic stories as well, but basically it's like a lone underwater survival game, and you have to find a way to escape the planet basically, with nothing but underwater resources. You have to build a base and then travel to all these other places gathering resources to basically at the end you got to build a ship and to escape the planet safely. That's basically the game. But it's like it's fantastic. So like it's not a horror game, but I mean, if you it's kind of like seeing a shark underwater. You know what I mean? So like it's not labeled as a scary game, but it definitely is a scary game. So it has that thrill to it, but at the same time, it kind of like some of the creatures you encounter kind of scare you a little bit, jump scare you a little bit. It's just an all around fun game. You're basically under the water trying to survive. And in the story and the lore behind it is just top tier, man. So yeah, Subnautica 2 is an investment. There is Subnautica Below Zero. Is That's their second game. Except for I just don't want to buy it. So especially because I'm more invested in Subnautica 2 than Below Zero. It's what it is. A lot of people hate it. A lot of people love it. I'm only really worried about playing multiplayer with my family. So Subnautica 2 is my next investment. But that's basically what I've been doing. That's just why I haven't been uploading shorts. But yeah. Now I'm probably gonna be talking about some random things, but real quick, what I want to do is I want to see if I can get some people like actually in the live stream because that's what I really wanted to do. But for some reason, you know what? Here's what I'm gonna do. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna put a post on you know what? All right, so what do y'all think? Either I could start a new live stream and then just send the link out that way so that folks can join the live stream, or I can just see if I can create a post right now and see if anything will happen. At least that way everybody gets notified because that was the original plan, and I couldn't do that. So I just been kind of talking about the my YouTube history and all that for the past 25 minutes. Uh, I'm thinking, I'm thinking, should probably start a new live stream. That way I can split this stuff up just in case. So just in case I have a real good conversation and the next one I can split it up and turn it into a regular video. All right, I'll do it that way. Less stuff to edit. All right, so I'm gonna end this one and then I'm gonna come back in. Especially because my internet is acting weird. Let me get this stuff squared away. Thank you for joining, but hey, we look out for the next live stream.